quarterback, and you came up, and we were talking about the guy from Jacksonville. He was saying, "You think Willie Simmons gonna leave?" I said, "Willie ain't going to place as long as he can good quarterback. That's his game."
Yeah, that's right. That's
He
right.
said, "What about if somebody threw a couple million on the table?" I say, "That's not my decision."
Any of that.
Oh, you on there? No. What? Campus Stadium.
I think the problem with that, usually whenever we're trying to recruit a guy that's around the type of defensive, he's going to run it up the ladder. He's ran it up the ladder, and I think that miscommunication
Can you move this paper back some?
don't know if you know the guy doing the home invasion. I was dealing with that's my mine. Yeah. But it was more so just miscommunication than anything else. Yeah. I talked to him last weekend, but he's good.
I heard also that he's going to West Florida.
Probably so. Yeah.
Okay, if I may have your attention, you can see that Coach Simmons is here. The players are on their way. They're about 50. So we're going to get started, but before we get started, Coach Simmons' boss is in the house. He doesn't have my power at home. Let's have a good round of applause for the First Lady of Florida A&M football, Mr. Willie Simmons. Where is she? She's standing over in the corner. But she bought that big football here. As Vaughn said, we got 4 lights, 3 cameras. This is a special day. We're being looked at all over the country live. I got all my relatives looking in. That's a pretty big crowd right there. I do want to announce that, by the way, Vaughn, does that, don't ask any questions, apply to Dr. Walker and Dr. Reverend Wilson? Okay, that didn't, that didn't follow my. Oh, boss man here? Oh, it's understood. Boss man can't have too many questions today. How many people in here watch the Laverne and Shirley TV show? You people don't watch Laverne and Shirley. It was old TV comedy show. And I mentioned it just because one of the stars passed away. And I want to tell you about one segment from one show where Laverne and Shirley was coming from work. And Laverne said, for once in my life, I'd like to get paid for doing something I enjoy. And Shirley said, you can go to jail for that, Laverne. I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm off to a slow start today. We're going to wait on the players. I don't know if Coach Simmons wanna. I'm gonna turn the mic over to him in a few minutes because it's his day. But Coach, I just want to say I remember when I was heavily recruited. And I probably shouldn't tell y'all this story. But you saw Patrick Mahomes play on one leg and yet win the game. And I was reminded when I played on one leg, I didn't lose the game, no. I played on one leg, yeah. It's hard to do. Coach, I'm not off to a good start this morning. Some of my stuff has left me right here in the middle of being at the mic. Well, I got a better suggestion. I'm gonna say, ladies and gentlemen, the man with a 9-game winning streak, the man who has restored victories to Florida A&M University, the head coach of the Florida A&M University Rockets, Coach Willie Simmons. Now, when the players get here, I want to repeat that sound. I first thought I'd do a solo. But things are not going well today, but We got some special guests today. I want to read to you briefly a letter I received from three of our guests. Does anybody in here remember the old school Founders Club? It's been that long, huh? Old School Founders Club by John King, I think, was the founder. Well, anyway, what's that, Wiggs? Oh yeah, I got this, Wiggs. I got this. I got a letter in the mail with a check for $475, and I didn't recognize the people who were sending it. And she wrote the letter and said our club disbanded in 2015, and we discovered that we knew we had a little money left in the bank and decided who to give the $475 to. So out of all the organizations in Tallahassee, they decided to give the check to the 220 Quarterback Club. And that's they're sitting at that table. They don't like a lot of fanfare, but could you just raise your hands, Founders Club? Now, folks, that means something when people say, who should we give these $475 to? And there are a lot of organizations in Tallahassee, and they picked you guys, which is a testament to the impact you've had on athletics and society since we've been operating. And so they don't want to say anything, but I do want to point out that I believe it's Clara Smith now. She's the daughter of Dr. Victoria Warner. Everybody remember Dr. Victoria Warner? Her grandfather, H. Manning Epperson, was the interim president of Florida A&M University for 6 months many years ago. I'm old enough to remember H. Manning Epperson. Anybody else remember H. Manning Epperson? Some of these people were here back in 1887. But I just want to thank the Founders Club for recognizing Florida A&M University, and for these three fine people, strong rattlers, to just come by and express their appreciation. So we wrote a letter, but I wanted them to be here in person, but they don't want to say. Is it true that nobody still wants to say anything? All right. All right, thank you. Now I'll turn it back over to, next to me, the second best head football coach in America, Coach Willie Simmons.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. It's definitely an honor to be here today. It's an exciting day across the country. National Signing Day is a day that a lot of young men get to realize their dreams of being a collegiate football player. And so, of course, Eddie and I remember what that feels like. Being a guy that was able to, come from Quincy, Florida, and be able to go to South Carolina to school and travel the world, and all those things happened about 25 years ago, right there in Gadsden County. So across America, it's a rite of passage. With the early signing period that began a few years back, it's kind of watered down today a little bit. There's still a few guys that are signing today. Of course, the bulk of most team signing classes were done in early December, and so I was able to come by earlier this year and kind of introduce the new class that we signed in December, which the vast majority of our class was done then. So about probably 80% of our guys have already signed and are really already here. And so you'll get a chance to meet a few of those individuals today to just hear about their experience at FAMU over the last month since they've been in school. And again, the guys that will sign today, we will go live on social media to kind of introduce those individuals later this afternoon. By NCAA rule, we can't really talk about them per se until their letter of intent comes through. So we'll go in more detail about those individuals as that time comes. So, but we're definitely here to talk about the class, to talk about anything pertaining to FAMU football, like we always do. But before we do, obviously want to recognize some special guests that are in the house. Obviously, Eddie already stole my thunder and introduced the real head coach. So Eddie, I know you think you take credit for a lot of the plays that we call on game day, but it's actually Miss Simmons who gives me the game plan every week. It's ironic that you marry someone that you grew up with and went to school with, and as many of you did as well. And she was, and I'm not gonna tell her age. She's a little bit older than me, just a little bit. But we did go to school together from middle school and high school. Of course, she was Miss Shanks and did everything on the academic side, and of course I was Mr. Sports, and I was a pretty smart guy back in the day myself. But in all that time, believe it or not, she never saw me play football. Never went to a football game in high school, and so don't know what she was doing on the Friday night in Gadsden County. Not a whole lot to do in Gadsden County on the Friday night, but you were on the Rattler till my junior year, so you can stop telling that tale. But obviously, she married into a football family, and so from a woman who didn't grow up watching high school football and never really saw me play much college football, she thinks she knows more football than me now. So just kind of ironic how that works out. You know what that feels like, I'm sure. But no, definitely glad to have her here in the house today. She is a fourth generation Rattler. Her grandmother, great grandparents went to FAMC, and her grandmother, who actually was suite mates with Althea Gibson back in the day. And so, but again, that legacy is grown to our oldest son, Lewis, who had a chance to graduate with 2 degrees back in 2020, and he's now in his down in Orlando, the second full year at the law school. So very proud of him. And my second daughter, Raven, she's a high school sophomore at DRS, but she's dual enrolled now at FAMU. So she's taking college courses at FAM. So we're keeping the tradition going, keeping the legacy going. So definitely glad to see her here. Her former boss and mentor, former superintendent of schools of Gadsden County, Reginald James, and his lovely wife, Miss Betty, are here in attendance as well. They're actually classmates with my mother back at Carter Paramore back in the day. And so definitely, Miss Betty was a classmate. I thought y'all were both classmates. You weren't classmates with her, Reggie? You younger than his. That's what I thought. Reggie trying to tell tales. Trying to date them. So they went to Carter Paramore High School, so that you could do the math. But I'm definitely glad to see him. They've been, family really for a long time. Their daughter and our classmates, and so we go way back, and so that blood runs deep. And then of course my uncle, who's a frequent member here, Tony McNeil, he's back there in attendance here. So of course he became a member, I guess about 2 years ago. So we're around that time. You've been coming for about 2 years now, something like that. So yeah, something like that. So. So, of course, my uncle followed in my mother and my oldest aunt's footsteps and came here to the House of 7 Hills, and is an engineer now and doing a great job. So definitely glad to see him here. And then my neighbor, of course, he's a frequent as well member, Coach Lamb, back there in the back. Always great to see him. So, again, a lot of great people. And then I, of course, got to recognize Ray Matthews back there in the back. So we're going to keep him in the back because the closer he gets to the front, he tends to cause some trouble, everywhere he goes. And so we're on live TV, so we're going to make sure, keep him way back in the back. Okay, answer any questions and just responding to emails today about Ray. But no, just great to see everyone. Of course, some familiar faces in the house. See some that are showing up for the first time in a while. Where Miss Brenda? I saw Miss Brenda walk in. Where you at? There she go. Miss Brenda over there getting some food, I guess. Miss Brenda. Good to see you, Lola. How you doing? Good. Glad to see you. Good. So, of course, Gerald Thomas is here from the Democrat, our beat writer. Always does a great job of following FAMU and writing about the team and about the young men. And so we're definitely great for the coverage that he gives. And same as St. Clair here, doing a great job. So Glad for all our media outlets in attendance today. So again, but just an exciting time, and we worked really hard as a staff over the last few months. Football, like I said about a month ago, has really become 2 seasons. Well, I guess you can really say 3 seasons. So obviously you have the playing season that goes from early August all the way through December. Then you have, of course, the quote-unquote off season, where our guys are training and doing all those things, which they're doing now. And, you have that 3rd season, which is the recruiting season. And so across the country, of course, every program, the only way that we can, have success or sustain success is to acquire quality individuals to our programs. And so that's a full-time job nowadays. Recruiting is a nonstop job, a nonstop part of this process. And so you can ask my wife. Late at night you're texting recruits, you're fielding calls from coaches, and you're setting up visits and all those things that goes into it. And of course, Devin Rispers, our director of recruiting, has done an amazing job of bringing prospective student athletes to our campus. We truly believe with this competitive industry that we have in recruiting, that if we can get them to campus, we have a chance. Because again, once you step foot on the House of 7 Hills, it just does something to you, right? And as many of your stories, just talking to you and alum across the country, had opportunities to go to other institutions, and whether they be Ivies or other HBCUs, but that first time you step foot on FAMU's campus, it did something to you, and it just confirmed that that was the place that you needed to be. And so we have that same attitude in recruiting about getting those young men to come to our campus, whether it be coming to football games, whether it be coming to football camps, or unofficial visits where they're just showing up and we're giving them facility tours and those type things. So that's what this recruitment has become for us. And so any day you come by the field house, you may see prospective student athletes locally, or even as far away as Miami, Atlanta, or even sometimes the Northeast and out west that are coming through touring our facilities. So when we're talking about upgrading the field house and branding the place, that's why it's so important, because you never know who may come through, right? We talked about back in my first year in 2018, we had the opportunity to host the nation's #1 player, Kayvon Thibodeau, who's currently with the New York Giants as a rookie. And during that time, and I said it back then, candidly, that we took Kayvon through every inch of FAMU's campus. We took him into the student union, we took him to the bowling alley, we took him into the cafeteria, SBI building, just everywhere. He had a phenomenal time, right? But there's one place that we did not take him, and that was our field house. We didn't take the nation's #1 player into our field house in 2018 because we, for all intents and purposes, were embarrassed to take him in there, right? Because this young man had opportunities to visit University of Oregon, University of Southern California, Alabama, University of Florida, and Florida State, and ultimately decided to go to Oregon. So we knew the type of places that he's seen, and we really didn't want to bring him into a field house in the state that it was back then. And so we're very thankful and grateful to you all, to our former administrations, for the commitment that it took to get the field house where it is today. Because right now we have no problem bringing anyone into our field house. It's a beautiful facility on the inside. Our locker room rivals any locker room in the country as far as the look of it. Obviously, maybe not as large as some locker rooms, and maybe doesn't have all the amenities. But again, just the fact that we have new lockers and a great floor with our logo right there in the middle, with the ventilation system and all those things, it really goes a long way. To take them to the weight room and to see weights that are branded with the FAMU, Rattler head, and all the newest technology. Our nutrition station that Eddie was so vigilant with getting behind, and you all supporting him with that we're benefiting from today. We're extremely grateful. So when those young men walk into the weight room and they see the bread, the peanut butter and jelly, the meat, the protein bars, the milk, all those things, the fruit, that's what big time programs have, and that's what we're fighting extremely hard to to maintain and make sure that as we continue to recruit future generations, that they're able to walk away from FAMU with that feeling that this is a first-class program, and this is a program that I can accomplish my goals by coming here, right? And so as they walk through the building, when I first got there again in 18, I mean, you walk through the wall. I think there was a picture of maybe it was Vaughn's team. I don't know. Maybe that's why I was up there, because I think it was a team from like '87 that was on the wall. Don't know why that particular team was picked. You know, we just had some more kind of like high school, you know, team photo pictures up on the wall, and that was really it. You know, we had the sign, the championship sign on the front of the building, but obviously that was, you know, older. So of course, you know, with the help of you guys, we were able to get a brand new board that, you know, has our championship years on there. And so, but outside of that, that was really it. It was a trophy case on both sides that was, you know, pretty much outdated. You know, that had some old trophies in there, and so it really wasn't a facility that was very impressive, to say the least. You know, but again, now you walk through, and the first thing you see when you walk in, you know, you see, you know, newer trophies, our national leaders. You know, we've had, I think, 5 national leaders over the last 5 seasons that have led the NCAA in statistical categories. You know, you see the fog mirror, windows, you know, with Bob Hayes and Jake Gaither and Jacquay Nunnally, you know, and those legendary figures here that makes student athletes walk in and say, okay, well, who was that? Tell me about that guy. What's the significance of that individual? And we can tell them about Bob Hayes, right? We can tell them that FAMU has the only athlete to ever win an Olympic gold medal and a Super Bowl, right? That's one of the first conversations that we have now, and you see their eyes light up, right? Because that was something they probably didn't know. They probably had heard of Bob Hayes, probably had even seen Bob Hayes, but they didn't know, 1, that he went to FAMU, and 2, about the historical significance of what he was able to do. You know, you can talk to him about Jacquay Nunnally, a guy who broke a lot of Jerry Rice's records as a wide receiver. You know, about Jake Gaither, of course, who doesn't even, you know, many people don't even know. I mean, nobody can come close to the level of success that he had over a 25-year period, you know, coaching here, winning 22 championships in 25 years. I mean, unprecedented success as a head coach. And the list goes on. And so now, as we walk through the hallway and you see Ken Riley and you see, you know, the wall of NFL players and Hall of Famers, now it makes sense. And now you can look up and see a guy like Isaiah Land playing in the Senior Bowl this week. Now it really, really shows these young people that anything's possible here at the House of 7 Hills. And that's really all they want to know. Can I accomplish my goals by coming to school here? And what we've been able to do from a facility standpoint over the last 5 seasons has really gone a long way in helping us to attract those type of young men. And so as you look at our team, you know, now we feel like this is the deepest football team that we'll field this season. You know, there's really not a position that we go into the season saying that we're deficient as far as talent and depth, and that goes for the line as well, offensive and defensive line. We have 8. I think right now we have 17 offensive linemen currently on campus going through spring practice, and that's unheard of. Not even at this level, but really at any level, to have 17 offensive linemen going through spring practice. I've been places where we didn't even have enough to have 2 units, where it wasn't the first team and second team in the spring. We had to kind of spot guys where you take a couple of snaps with the first team, go sit out, because you got to go back in with the second team just to even be able to practice, right? And so, you know, just to be able to see the depth that we have, to see the talent that we have, really is a testament to what you guys have been able to do and what our recruiting staff has been able to do, again, led by Devin Rispris, our director of recruiting, and then one of our unsung heroes, Miss Kendall Perry, who you guys had the opportunity to meet a few years ago, and a few weeks ago, obviously. And, you know, of course, whenever you do things right, people have success, people start plucking from your tree, right? So Miss Perry has a phenomenal opportunity to go and be one of the recruiting assistants at the University of Texas in Austin. And so she will leave probably tomorrow sometime to go on and start that endeavor there. So we're very, very proud of her. Again, that's a huge opportunity. University of Texas is one of the largest programs in America. And for her to do this for one season and to be able to propel that to an opportunity to go work at one of the biggest institutions in America, again, is another testament of what you can do from FAMU. You know, Kendall's a graduate of FAMU. from SBI. She's in grad school now at SBI, and but she will be able to go out and work for one of the top recruiting departments in America. And one of the things that Ms. Perry said to me last week was really warmed my heart, because she left and went. She wasn't with us last weekend during our last visit weekend. She was in Austin during their junior day. And she said, Coach, I just want to tell you that the stuff that we're doing at FAM, they're doing here at Texas. She said, so a lot of the things that I've seen here while I've been here, we're doing that there. And so it shows that we're doing things the right way, you know, by the way we operate, by the way we take care of our young people, by the experiences that they get. It's just like they're doing at the top programs in America, right? And so that's the goal. And again, that's a testament to you guys for your commitment to making sure that we're able to provide the opportunities for them to know that here they can achieve their goals. And so, again, today's a great day across America, but again, it's definitely a great day here on the highest of Seven Hills because of the young men that we get to add. So again, you'll hear more about the list of guys this afternoon once we're able to officially release their names. We do have some local guys that we've signed. Young man from Gadsden County High School that we're very excited about. Another young man from Godby High School that's coming this way out of high school. Of course, the kicker from over at McClay that we're able to bring in the first 5-star kicker that we've ever signed here at FAMU. And so, again, just a phenomenal class of guys that we're really excited about, really good students and young men that we know will come in and continue to take this program to the next level. And so I know we'll be very excited to know that the schedule, I know that's a question that many of you have, the schedule will be released here in the coming days, and so definitely be able to plan for that this fall, but we're very excited about the official release of our schedule as well. So with that being said, our players should be on the way here shortly, but in the meantime, we'll definitely field some questions about some of the guys, obviously, that you may know about, may not know about, and anything pertaining to the program. So, of course, we'll open the floor. Like I said, we got 2 microphones here. One over here to my left, one to my right. Just walk up to the mic and ask you a question, and I shouldn't have to repeat it, Vaughn. It'll be loud enough. Okay, good. All right.
Okay, my question is about Marquise Bell. Have you made any announcement? What was the reaction to Marquise Bell? He's the only HBCU player mentioned during the professional playoffs this year.
Oh, well, so reaction about Mark. No, we were very excited, obviously, to see Marquise, play in the playoffs this year for the Cowboys, and he played on every special teams unit, which is typically the role of many rookies. For him to be on all 4 phases and doing an amazing job there, and obviously their playoff run was cut short a couple of weeks ago, but again we were able to see him, and the announcer. Well, of course, he got his name called because they thought he recovered the fumble. He actually didn't recover the fumble, but it was good that they messed it up because they got to say Marquise Bell's name. So we're not going to complain that the announcer messed that up. But he did not technically recover the fumble, but for him to be around to play was really good, again, for them to say his name. And, again, that's just confirmation, right? Because one of the main things these young men want to know when they're looking at your program is, can you get me to the next level? I mean, at the end of the day, that's really the first question they ask, right? And, they are student athletes, and that would never be mistaken. They'll always be student athletes, and they do want to get their degrees. But at the end of the day, all of these guys' number one goal is to play professional football. Their 1B goal is to graduate. But if you ask any of them, that first goal is to play professional ball. And at the end of the day, I definitely understand that. And they can do both. They can graduate, but they can also work to build a career, to build themselves up to be a professional football player. And so to have Marquise currently with the Cowboys and to have Isaiah Land currently playing in the number 1 All-Star game for draft-eligible players is, again, great for our profile, great for the future of this program because, again, prospective student athletes can look at us and see that we are developing our guys to play at the next level, and they're not the last 2. I can say with full confidence that we have a few more guys on this roster that will have a chance to get their names called on draft day and have a chance to play in the NFL. So we're very, very excited about that. But definitely great to see Marquise, in the playoffs this year. Boss, you gonna wobble yourself up to the mic? You can't ask that question from the back today. You got to walk up here today. We got one over here.
In the process of recruiting, do you have help from high school coaches, or do you have to go out and beat the bush yourself?
Well, so it's a little bit of both. It's funny you ask that because when you hear stories about Jake and Rudy, from back in those days, really the high school coaches told them who was going to play for them, right? He's had his guys throughout the state of Florida, and they call and say, "Hey, Jake, they got so and so they're coming to play for you," and then same thing with Coach Hubbard. It's times have changed. Obviously you don't have as much of that today, and so excuse me, we have to go and beat the bushes. We have to identify these prospective student athletes. We have to make the initial contact most of the time. There are cases where, excuse me, or instances where they may reach out to us, but typically it's the other way around. Typically it's us expressing interest in them, and then having to continue to recruit them, right? It's like it really is like dating, right? Not this new age dating when women are proposing to me, and it's not that new age type dating. It's old school. You better show up at a job and go meet her dad, and I mean it's all the old stuff that Eddie had to do to get Miss Jared. So that's what we're doing. I mean it's loving them up. It's inviting them to games. It's wining and dining them on official visits. I mean, it's a full-time process because a day will go by and you don't reach out to a guy. To him, that's like you don't want him anymore because there are other staffs and a lot of instances we're recruiting against schools with larger budgets than us, and so they have a lot more staff. Recruiting staff. And so it's not always the coach, the head coach or the assistant coach that's tweeting the guy or call. It's guys that are not full time. So for us, we don't have as many. So we got to do both, right? And so it is a full time job. So I think we got some special guests in the house. All right, so let's do it. So you ready to crank it up, Vaughn? All right, so that we have a special guest in the house. So I will introduce these I'll let them introduce themselves one by one, tell the name, their hometown, their previous institution, because all of these guys are transfer student athletes, their year in school, and what position they play. And so they don't know their numbers yet because we're still working through some numbers, so they won't be able to know the jersey numbers just yet, but all the other special information they'll know. So we'll pass the mic down one at a time, and then once we get the mic back to me, of course, we'll open the questions back up. You can ask me a question, or obviously we can pass it to one of these young gentlemen, but we'll start right here to my immediate right.
All right, hello. My name is Trey Wilhoit. I'm from Tallahassee. Oh, all right. My bad. All right, hi, everyone. My name is Trey Wilhoit. I'm from Tallahassee, Florida. This is actually my fourth college, so my previous institution was Eastern Illinois. Glad to be home with my family and be representing FAMU. Oh, I'm a punter. Sorry, forgot to say that I'm a punter.
How you doing, guys? My name is Yannick Ogunlade. I'm from Maryland, My previous institution was University of Buffalo. That was my only school, and I transferred to FAMU just for a better opportunity and looking for a family environment. And I play offensive line. That's pretty much it.
Hello, how everybody doing? Thank you for having me. My name's Sharif Say. I'm from Houston, Texas. I transferred from Southeastern Louisiana. I play defensive end / outside linebacker, and I'm glad to be here at FAMU where I can ball out for my people.
How y'all doing? My name is Jalen Glaze. I'm actually from Tallahassee, Florida. I went to Lincoln High School. In the last 3 years, I was at the University of Minnesota. You know, that's pretty far, kind of cold out there. But I play DB, and I just really want to come back home, and this is the environment I want, and I'm just ready to ball out and do what I'm knowing best to do. Thank y'all.
Yeah, you could tell Jalen is back from Minnesota with a little shorts on. He couldn't wear those up there in Minneapolis, St. Paul's. but no, these are two of the 12 additions to the team this mid-year. And as you see, two of them are from right here in Tallahassee. Two of the 5 guys that we brought home are from Tallahassee, so really excited to get these guys back closer to home and allow them to play in front of their fans, their family. That was important to them throughout the recruiting process. You know, all of these guys were heavily recruited coming out of high school, and you know, like we know, sometimes we recruit them for the second go round. And you know, but again, excited to have them here. And of course, we're gonna brag on Trey a little bit. Of course, the last 5 years we've been blessed to have one of the nation's best punters, Chris Fadul. Trey here again transferred from Eastern Illinois, which is another FCS program. Trey actually was an FCS All-American this past season, and actually had a higher punting average than Fadul. And so we're very excited to have him here to continue the great legacy of punters that we've had here at FAMU. Of course, one of our very own down here on the DJ and Vaughn Wilson. So excited about him. And then Jalen, coming here from Minnesota. Jalen was a heavily recruited guy coming out of high school at Lincoln. And again, just really excited about what he brings to the table, as his tenacity, his physicality, and he's a versatile guy that can play a multitude of positions on the back end. So we're very excited about him. And obviously with Yannick, offensive line, of course, you know how important that position is. And so we've brought 2 mid-year guys in, Yannick as well as Ashton Grable. Yannick's a true tackle, as you can see by his length and size. And we're very excited to have him here. And Ashton's more of a combo guard that can play some tackle, but really excited about him. And then obviously whenever you lose a guy like Isaiah Land, who obviously led the nation in sacks in 21, who's playing in the Senior Bowl as we speak, you want to find some guys that can replace him. And Sharif comes in as an accomplished defensive end from Southeast Louisiana. Very excited about him, being here as well. So definitely feel like we've, again, not necessarily replaced some of the best players that we've had in our program's history, but we feel like we brought guys that can have the same type of impact to our program. So definitely excited about them. So, boss, you had a question? You got to come to the mic, boss. You got to come on to the mic. While we're waiting, if anybody else wants to. Declared major. Trey was major. Trey's majoring in sociology. Yannick. Psychology for Yannick. Sharif's in grad school, starting his master's, and Jalen Glaze is SBI. So, true scholars, like I said. That major in that stuff you took back in the day, Eddie. These some real classes these guys are taking.
Okay, is it on? Okay, for that offensive lineman, you can psych him out, baby. All you got to do is look at him and tell him, I'm going to get you. Okay, my question was this.
when will the list be published in all of the kids that are coming in well, let me say the ones that are coming in, these and the one that you're recruiting today?
Yeah. So Josh is currently compiling the names as they come through the email, and then once he gets all the names, he'll release it this evening. So I'm doing a show tonight, and hopefully by then we'll have all the names in, and we'll put out a list of all the signees.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Well, so Josh Padilla is gonna have me on, and some of these guys on social media tonight. So our Facebook Live, Instagram Live, all of those. Eddie can show you how to access all those. So we'll be instead of having a sit down show, because again the class is not that big, we're gonna just do the live, and we'll have a few of those individuals come on with me and just talk about the classes. But we'll have the entire list of names later this evening. Ms. Simmons, you gotta get one of your guests to ask a question too. So.
Alzora Williams, class of '68. We were once told that any alumni can recommend a player for the team. They'll be looked at. They won't be promised that they'll get a position, but they would be looked at. Is that still so? Yeah, so we really appreciate and enjoy recommendations from our alum, from former players, current coaches, and we take a look at every last one of them. Obviously with limited roster spots, and that's why we say we can't promise those guys an opportunity. And with the tough part for us in today's climate is obviously because of COVID, every player from the class of 2020 on got an extended year. They got an extra year of college eligibility. And so that's made it difficult for us to add more individuals to our roster because we're not losing as many. Obviously, if guys can play into their 6th year, so you look at last year's team, Xavier Smith, without COVID, wouldn't have been here. Christopher Duell would not have been here. Jose Romo Martinez, Jalen McLeod. So probably 75% of our senior class last season would not have been here had it not been for the COVID waiver. And so that will be in effect until about class of 24. And so at that point, then we'll kind of get back to a normal number of seniors leaving your program. And so that's made it increasingly difficult, one, to recruit high school student athletes. That's made it very, very challenging. And there are a lot of frustrations now with high school coaches because we're just not signing as many, because we're not losing as many, right? And so we really worked hard to explain that. So between the inception of the transfer portal and the extended COVID waiver, it's really put high school recruits in a precarious position. But we're working extremely hard to try to balance it out. But right now, it just doesn't make for. Case in point, typically during this time of year in the spring, we probably have 85 to 90 players, somewhere around that number. Right now, we have 110 currently. That's before any freshmen come to us this fall. We can only bring 110 to training camp. So there are guys that are practicing with us right now who may not be invited to training camp just because we don't have the roster space to do it. And then it will add them once school starts. But again, it's just made it really, really difficult to balance our rosters because of the added COVID year. So, but yeah, any recommendations, we welcome them all, and we're definitely taking a look at them. It's very tough right now to maybe promise more of those spots that we would have in the past, if that makes sense. Yep, come on, Coach. Babe, that's what I tell you every night when I'm staying up late at night on Tuesday nights, worried about the question on Wednesday. This is what I'm talking about.
Hey, Coach.
How you doing, love?
Good. My pet peeve, my quarterback, and which is much more, just as important, the backup quarterback. I need to know where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm. Right. So as far as who we have?
Yes.
Right. So, of course, Jeremy.
Don't make me mad now.
Don't get her started. She don't need any ammo. So again, because of the COVID waiver, Jeremy actually gets another year, right? So we're excited to have Musa back for his COVID senior year. So again, he will enter the season as probably the first team all-conference quarterback. He was second team this past year, and the way the conference operates is whoever makes the all-conference team, if you return, you're automatically on the team again. If that person leaves, then whoever was next in line jumps up to that spot. So Shador was the first team quarterback last year. Jeremy was second team. Well, Shador transferred out, so Jeremy will enter the season as the first team SWAC preseason quarterback. You can't vote on it. It's just automatically. So he will be the preseason first team quarterback. So obviously bringing the guy back, we all remember how much of a jump Ryan Stanley made in his second year in our system, right? This will be Jeremy's second year in the system. So we're excited about the progress that he'll make from year one to year two. And then behind him, Junior Miratovic is back for his third year. He's very excited. He texted me yesterday or the day before, just saying that he's ready to be the player that we know he's capable of being. And so we're very excited about his focus right now. Ja'Cory Jordan again played a little bit in the Classic last year. Again, in his third year, so we're really looking forward to his growth and development. He's the most athletic of all the quarterbacks, can really, really run, goes 40 times those guys in 40-yard dashes, and Ja'Cory's time was up there with the receivers and defensive backs at 6'4". And so we're very excited about him. Then Trey Fisher, of course, Jimbo Fisher's son, is here as well after transferring in last year. And then we added an addition from the transfer portal, DJ Boney. And so that last name may ring a bell. His dad, Demetrius Boney, played here, in the 80s, Vaughn, was it the 80s or? Yeah, around that time. And so we're excited to have a legacy kid here. He's from Orlando. Demetrius was a heavily recruited guy coming out of high school, and we're excited to have him here as well. So we'll go through the spring with 5 quarterbacks all competing. And so, again, like every other position, we're very deep, and we're very excited about what that position can bring. Yeah. We'll also see him over in the house. Our director of football operations here, Troy Johnson, stopped by to grace us. Actually transported these fine gentlemen over here for us today.
Hello, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Talk to us about your receiving room. We know we lost Xavier, and specifically, did you get someone who's not height challenged so we can get that high point ball in the end zone?
Why they mess with the short people, Ed? I don't know what problem they got with the little guys, Ed. I don't know. So. Yes, losing Xavier, was a huge loss for us, and we're working to try to replace that production. Much like we talked about, in the past with Marquise, you probably won't replace 87 catches with one guy, right? It'd be very difficult. Hopefully we can, but it'd be very difficult to replace that many catches with one individual. So the guys that are returning, we're looking forward to seeing which one of those guys steps up to be, that number one receiver. David Manigo is coming back for his 6th year. We're really excited about, what he brings to the table. Jamarie Shareed, K-Dot's back for his 6th year. He's looking to step into Xavier's position, so he'll actually play the position that Zay played. So hopefully he can give us a ton of production he has over the last 2 years. Nick Dixon, another local guy, is back for his 6th year. Darren Oxendine, Chris Sanders, Trey Davis was a guy that we were very high on last year, who got injured early in the season, and so he missed the bulk of last season after hurting his knee, but he's back full speed. And then we brought in Jamari Gassett. Jamari is a transfer also from the University of Buffalo, played up there at Yannick. He's from Tampa, and Jamari can really, really run. Yesterday, Coach Forney came into the facility. We have this technology, it's called Catapult. It's like vests that they put on their bodies when they condition, so it tracks how far they're running, how fast they're running. And we'll let you put it on one day, Ed, to see. You still got that 4.3 you had back in the day. But one of our guys ran, I think, over 22 miles an hour, which is really, really fast. Jamari didn't have the vest on, but Coach Forney said he was 5 steps ahead of that guy. And so we're looking forward to his speed and what he can bring to the table. So now he's not the tallest guy, but you know, for us, and it's just philosophically, we're about speed. You know, our number one priority at the receiver position is speed. If you look last year, you know, Xavier's 5'10", 5'9.5". K-Dot, you know, Jamari, Eddie can eat off the top of his head. I mean, he's not the tallest guy, but, you know, very dynamic. And you know, but you look at the Miami Dolphins this year, right? Tariq Hill is 5'9" on a good day, and Jalen Waddell is 5'7". And they're 2 of the top 5 receivers in the NFL, right? Because the one thing we know for sure, if either you have speed or you're chasing it. And we want to be the one that that has the speed, that makes sure everyone else is chasing us. So we want some longer guys, and we do have. But what our philosophy is, our tight ends need to be those bigger-bodied receiving threats. Jeremiah Pruitt is 6'5.5", right? Kobe Gross is 6'3". Kamari Young is 6'3". Those are the big-bodied receivers, and they all played high school. I mean, they all played receiver in high school. Well, except Kamari, he's a true tight end. But Kobe and Jeremiah played receiver. When Jeremiah got here, he was a 205-pound wide receiver transferring in. Now he's 225, almost 230 as a tight end. And so he can give us that outside big threat that we need. But, you know, Manigo's 6'3". Trey Davis is 6'1.5". You know, so we do have some longer guys. But, you know, we wanted to replace Xavier's speed and playmaking in the recruiting process. And we'll continue to address those needs as we move forward. But yeah, we try to build them both. But if I had to pick one or the other, I want to pick a guy that can go that way real fast. I see your guests have to ask a question. You don't get to come up and read their question. They gotta walk to the mic.
Coach,
Eddie,
I got a mic too.
Get a
Coach.
Eddie. Get a Eddie.
Eddie, you better pick you a battle, baby. This one ain't it right here. I'm telling you. He is the winningest coach because the woman behind him is praying. She walks light, but I carry a big stick. Can I? Babe, it's a cheat question, right? And you know I wanted it. Where did Sharif sign to first? Tell us, Sharif. Where say it.
We don't say that. Well, we don't say that name loud, around here. We don't even say that name.
Y'all,
he signed out of high school to that school down south. Yeah.
So Sharif, welcome home, baby. Welcome home.
we had to give him the real experience. He wanted a little taste of it first. That was his entree. This is his full course meal.
Oh yeah. All right, Coach.
How you doing, sir?
Hey, can you have that big offensive lineman stand up one more time?
Come on here, Yannick. Now let's do this. Eddie, come on, stand on the other side.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Wow. Eddie was telling me one time he played offensive line. He got up there and told the guys, you take that one, you take that one, I'm going to take these. That's what you mean, man. I'll be looking for you. What's your height and weight?
I'm 6'5", and I'm 290.
290. So when you get down there, I'll be looking for you. Yes, Coach offensive lineman. And I'll be looking for you coming in this year. And they say, get mean on the offensive line. When you get down, scare the guy in front of you.
Yes,
Let him know, he might know that the player's coming his way, but there's nothing he can do about it. And that's what I want to know.
Yes, I appreciate you.
I'll be looking at you.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Have a good one. Welcome to the Hill.
Good to be here.
And Giannis not being mocked. When they say 6'5", like that's legitimate NFL 6'5", so he's probably closer to 6'6". You know. Yeah, we'll make sure he didn't squeeze your hand too hard. But so the last player we've had from DC was Savion Williams. So if he can bring a little bit of intensity Savion brought, we're gonna be all right. Because I think Savion's still running from the police about some of the stuff he did here as a football player. So we love the toughness that those DMV guys bring. But we're looking forward to it. Yes, sir. But he's got some DC ties. Mom originally from Louisiana. He a little bit of Louisiana in him, a little bit of Georgia in him, a little bit of DC in him. So yeah, between one of them three states, we're gonna find that mean streak in him. So we're excited.
Good afternoon, Coach.
How you doing, sir?
You didn't mention one name that I hold precious, and that's Jermaine Hawkins.
Yes. So fortunately, Jermaine is no longer with us. He decided that football, really wasn't for. He battled a lot of injuries, tearing his ACL and a couple other injuries. The last one was ACL, but he's had a ton of injuries throughout his time here. And once you this game takes a lot out of you. And, after a while, you just got to make a decision as to, do I want to keep doing it and risking injury? And, because, again, we're thinking these guys are 21, 22 years old, but we want them to one day be sitting in the 220 club as a retiree, right? And so, sometimes taking all those injuries and hits, it just doesn't correlate to being able to have a productive life after football. So he's made a decision. He's got a kid, so he's decided to start the next journey of his life being a full-time father. And but again, he's always a rattler. We're definitely, gonna keep him near and dear to our heart. But Jermaine, he's no longer with us.
Well, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Then I'd like to say hello to the new guys here. I'm an aficionado when it comes to FAMU football, and I've been studying each one of you guys, and I just hope that you bring what you represent to the school, because that's what we need. It's been one game that we need to overcome in the next year or so, and that's down in Miami.
But right out the gate, that's why they're here.
So when I say this, I want you to come and have your mind set that when we go to Miami, you're gonna bring your A game. That's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
That's a promise. That's why we brought guys who have game experience. So their first game in the bright lights won't be too big for them. So we're excited about what these guys will be able to do down in Miami. Hopefully Trey can take the day off and not have to worry about punting too much. He might be on the beach with Eddie, but the rest of these guys will be ready to go. Oh, you walk to the mic, Mr. Scott. Yes, sir.
Yes, Coach. You talked about your offensive lineman 17. What about the running back position?
Probably the deepest on the team. Right now we have 9, believe it or not. We brought 2 local guys in, transferred in. Jaquez Yant from Godby High School transferred in from the University of Nebraska. He has class at 1. He was coming, but he has class at 125. So I told him between 220 class, choose class. And so he ended up going to class. And Kelvin Dean is another local transfer, played at Rickards High School, and he's transferred in from Florida Atlantic University. And so those 2 guys, with Terrell Jennings, who's returning as well, DeAndre Francis, another local product from Rickards, Leland Wilhoit, who's bounced between running back and wide receiver over the last year, will start the spring as a running back. And even behind them, we have 4 guys that have walked on to the program. So the running back room is probably, like I said, that and linebacker, probably our deepest room as far as players. One back offense, and you have 9 guys, so it's pretty hard to get reps this spring with that group. But very excited about their talent and what they bring to the table. That's been a point of emphasis for us in the offseason to improve our run game. That was the one area that we didn't do very well last year. So wish y'all could have seen Jaquez. He's a massive human being. He makes Terrell Jennings look small. But you'll get to see him, and we think he's going to bring a lot of that downhill running game that we need to run behind Big Yannick. Any more questions? All right. Well, I definitely appreciate your time, and like I said, tonight, if you have social media and you're able to navigate the live function on there. Follow our football athletic website. FAMU Athletics should be the Instagram and Twitter handle to be able to get on our Facebook Live or Facebook, and I think it's going to be on all 3 live platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And so you'll be able to see me. You'll see maybe some of these guys, a few other guys, come on and just talk about, today, their experiences, And then, like I said, by this evening, we should have a full list of signees, from that class. And then, like I said, the schedule should be releasing here in another day or so. And so I know I'll be very excited about that. But again, they know the goal here is the Celebration Bowl or bust, and that's our mindset. So as always, go Rattlers, and look forward to seeing you guys in the future.
Coach, we have, you and I have something else in common. Jerry never saw me play football either. Gentlemen, before you go, I want the president of our boosters to come up and say a few words of welcome to you. This is Sevin Cobb. He's the president of the FAMU boosters. Who? Roosevelt is here? Coach Roosevelt's 89 years old. It's nice to have somebody here older than me, Roosevelt. He drove up and he drives back tonight. Yeah, it's amazing.
Thank you, Eddie. As a Rattler Boosters, and most of you all here are Rattler Boosters as well, this is just a perfect example of why we do what we do to support our student athletes. We want these young men who've decided that they wanted to come to represent us, to wear the orange and green, to have the best possible experience that any student athlete could have at any college or university in America. So I thank you for the support that you've given us, and I want to continue to ask you to continue to support us and help the Rattler Boosters support our Rattler athletic program. Thanks, everybody.
Anyone else like to comment before we close it out? Yeah. What time? Okay. Six p.m. 6 p.m. Okay. Okay, people, remember, all meetings can't be as exciting as this one. We can have coach every week and the players, but we still got to come because meeting every week makes the difference in terms of our financial contributions. So, same time, same place next week, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming.